Hello everyone, it's been a little while. Kind of my fault, I had a little bit of artist's block after vacation. But right before I left for vacation, I had started this little project and didn't really have enough time to give it the attention it deserved. And also get ready for a long trip. So, we're picking up here where I left off. And I didn't get very far. All I did was mix up some ruby colored mica powder into this resin, and we're going to use the exact same color so that I can just kind of top this off and finish. And we're not actually going to worry about the big one for this video. This is actually going to be another video, so let me kind of speed this up. We are not going to worry about this right now, but don't worry, we will revisit it in a future episode. Let's get to pouring the small ones, which is what I am going to be focusing on for this video. And we are going to delve into a little bit of mixed media. And now we have this cured, but we are not going to demold it yet. No, we still have a job that we're gonna do. So this is a pomegranate mold, just in case you couldn't tell already that was what it is. We've got our nice red color put down here. And I've tried this project a couple of times and failed miserably. I failed so miserably that I didn't even post the video. So this is a redo, and today we're going to get this looking the way that suited my vision. What I mean by that is we're going to get this actually being visibly identifiable as a pomegranate and not a tomato or some other kind of fruit. And we're going to do a little bit of a mixed media project here. So these little white beads are going to be what I use to kind of make the white rind of the pomegranate. That's what I plan to do with that. Now, the reason my last project failed is because I tried to just drop them into the resin and then pour a layer over, which it wasn't a bad idea to get the base resin first, and I'll explain why when we do our second coat. But resin moves when it cures. When it's not a fast curing resin, when it's a 8-hour, 24-hour curing resin, the stuff that's within your resin, whether it's alcohol ink, whether it's beads, what have you, it's going to move around. And everything had migrated and it just looked like a mess. So this time, with the technique that I'm going to use, we're going to use our UV resin as kind of a glue to keep things from migrating when we do the second coat. When I put these beads down, I want them to stay exactly where I put them. We don't want them swimming off anywhere. And it is a bit of a meticulous process, I'm not gonna lie, which is why I'm speeding our visual up a little bit, but you'll get the idea. It's worth it though. I find that a lot of time the finer and the smaller the details are that you make on a project, the more texture you have. We've actually got something resembling the white line of our pomegranate. And I thought it would look a lot nicer and a lot more sparkly than just taking like a Posca marker or something. I hope I pronounced that right, but one of those paint markers basically, and just drawing a line. And this I feel is going to come out really shimmery and add a lot of character to our project. I remember being nervous the whole time I was doing this because, I kid you not, this is like the third or fourth attempt of me trying to get this to look the way I intended it to look. And sometimes, if you've never seen it done, you kind of have to invent the technique. But all you have to do really is, if you find yourself kind of just frustrated and at a loss as where to go next with a project, like you know how you want it to look, but you don't know how to get it there, sometimes you just have to break it down into steps. And while the video is slowed down, I'm going to take a moment to explain exactly where we're going. So first thing we did is we needed to mix up about, I would say about, for both of the molds, because I have 2 of them, I want to say maybe about 4 ounces for each. But we needed to choose the kind of pigment we wanted, and I had this nice kind of ruby, natural looking red mica powder. And I knew that I wanted that to kind of be the base. So if you think about it, kind of like Photoshop, if those of you who are digital artists out there, you know you have to put down layers, right? And you want things on certain layers. So I wanted the base background, which was that red. And then I knew on top I wanted some white beads and some red beads, or what's going to come after this, to kind of have the rind and the seeds. But I needed them to not be floating everywhere and to actually stay in the shape I put them. And when I sat down and thought about it, I was like, well, what stops me from pouring just the very thinnest of base layer? Like, you don't want to fill that mold up because you need to do a second pour once you're done putting down all of your little small details and curing the UV resin. You don't want it completely full because you're still going to need the walls of the mold to hold onto your top layer. But I was like, every time I'd pour my top layer, which is a clear layer, by the way, just to be sure, and you'll see it later, because you don't want a solid color. You're going to lose your beads. No one's going to be able to see them. They're just going to get buried in the color. But I was like, what can I do to actually get this down correctly and keep the integrity of what I've got going on below that top layer? And I was like, I just need a little bit of UV resin. Pin it down, keep it in place, and then we'll try to seal it. And I'm speeding up and cutting down a little bit of this footage because it is a lot. There were a lot of beads to put down, and such is the nature of if you're going to make very detailed, very delicate work. But again, I chose to go this route because I do think it's worth it. And I knew it was going to come out the way I needed it. Now we're going to cure that a little bit. And this type of resin that I'm using cures pretty fast. Shouldn't have to wait too long. But I felt like I was getting to a point where it was time to cure some of it. And I lifted it off. It looks like that is going to be... Yep, that's staying in place. That is not going anywhere. And don't worry if you can see the outlines of where you did the UV resin, because once you pour that top layer, it's going to even everything out and it's going to erase that anyway. It's just the only thing you're going to see below the surface is going to be your beads. You're not even going to see that outline. But now let's start getting to the fun part. Let's get the seeds. And before I forget, I have a little bit of a funny story to tell. When I was on Amazon looking for this mold, I guess a lot of people still don't know what these silicone molds are for. Some poor soul had just typed in, I guess they'd probably just typed in pomegranate resin or something, and they got this, thinking that they were going to get a finished resin piece like the one I'm creating here, because the Amazon seller picture showed an example of what could be done with this mold but they weren't actually selling the resin. They were just using it as an example piece. Well, I don't think that the person who went to purchase this mold understood that it was in fact the pink mold. The actual pink silicone mold that they were getting. And they were very upset about it. A fun little story before I forget. Shout out to the person who left a review on the pomegranate silicone mold, mistaking it for an actual finished resin piece. Actually, I'm not making fun of this reviewer at all, but I did get kind of a chuckle out of their review. I think they may have misread the Amazon description on this mold, because right next to the mold was a picture of a resin pomegranate, just as a little description of what you could make with it. There's a few silicone molds on Amazon that will have similar depictions to give you some kind of an idea of what you can create, and they thought quite literally that they were getting something like what I'm putting together here, and they wanted it for a gemstone altar that they had for Persephone. And I was quite intrigued to find out that people still worship Persephone. But yes, to the Persephone worshiper, or at least the person with a Persephone altar, shout out to you. Your review did make me laugh. I hope you eventually found an actual pomegranate ornament for whatever you were trying to do. But just in case you didn't throw away the pink rubber mat, as you called it, you ever feel like experimenting with some resin, this is how you can get that pomegranate that you wanted. I thought the review was so funny. They were irate. I would be too, though, to be honest, if I had understood the description to mean that I was actually getting a finished resin piece. I got an empty pink silicone tray and had no idea what to do with it. But yep, you can still have that, but with extra steps. And I am going to start going pretty fast with the video, because this is meticulous work and would have hours and hours of footage of me just very carefully spreading out UV resin and placing the stones one by one. But basically that's what I'm doing, just thin coats of silicone resin and spreading the stones around like so. Use some tweezers, it'll make the job a lot easier. And I'm just starting to spread them around that white rind. And I really do like these stones. I don't remember if I got them off of Amazon or if I got them in a Dollar Tree or something, but I'll figure it out one way or the other. If it did come from Amazon, I'll leave the link for it. They are really nice and shiny, and they do look like little seeds. So I'm figuring in a lot of fruit-inspired resin art they'd come in handy, or even some geode resin art, to be honest. I might try a geode version of this in the future. But this was an idea I had, and I'd been wanting to do it for a while. And I think that right there looks about how I want it to look. That looks like a rind. So we're gonna plop the UV light over it and let it cure up really good. Also sticking my tools under there, as you can see, because any tools you use that have UV resin on them, they have to They have to get cured to get that stuff off, so to speak, because it's never going to harden without UV light. And I did put that one over to the side, if you're wondering why we cut to a picture where the stones have just seemingly disappeared. This is just me starting on the second one. Don't worry, the other one's coming back. And we're just going to do with this pretty much what we did with the first one. I'm going to go ahead and spill them out onto this and just pick them out from a pile because it's easier. They're a little bit easier to maneuver into place, honestly, if you just already spill them over the surface. It's all going kinda-ish to the same place. And I'm using my little silicone spatula to kind of just nudge them where I want them. And this process, I don't know if you noticed, but even with it sped up, I think you should be able to see that this actually was a much quicker process than just trying to pick them off one by one off of the paper. Because all I have to do is slide them over to where I want them, get them nice and dipped into that UV resin, and then I can just nudge them with my spatula into whatever kind of shape I want. And I'm going to try to make this one a little bit different than the other one, because my idea was not to get the two exactly the same, though it would be hard to do that anyway. But I do want them to look like they're a pair, but like they have their own individual energy too. Might actually do some little branches on the legs of the rind. And now I kind of wish I would have done that more of that on the first one too, but I think, well, you experiment, you learn, but I think that is going to come out pretty nice too. You learn by doing. Trust me, I've done this project 5 times. I wish I was joking. But it took me a little while to figure out how to actually engineer what I wanted to do. Trial and error. But I was very hopeful that this time it was going to work, because it makes logical sense that it would. If all of my stones and beads are floating around because they're just not anchored down, then we're just not going to let that happen this time. We're just going to have to anchor them down. That way, when we pour our top coat, we'll be safe. And I think that looks pretty good for the rind. I think I'm going to go ahead and start adding coat that I'm going to be using to put the stones down. And we're just going to speed that up again. And I'm just kind of picking and plunking them down. And again, I eventually started using the spatula, little silicone spatula, over the tweezers because it was just a bit of a quicker process. You can see this one is just coming along a lot quicker. Not that you have to work fast on this, but in real time, after spending about an hour on the first one, I was ready to move along. And it still came out pretty fantastic. I actually like the second design a little bit better than the first one, even though I spent more time on the first one, but such is life. Like I said, you do things multiple times, you get better. Just gonna have that cure. About 3 minutes there. Within 3 minutes, unless you've used a whole bunch of UV, what you're trying to make usually cures. Cures pretty solid. And this next part was just mixing clear resin with a little bit of gold glitter. I mixed that for 4 minutes. I didn't film it being poured because I had my camera in 2 different places with 2 different projects, but y'all know what a resin pour looks like. By now you've seen it many times on my channel. This came out great. I am gonna have to sand a little bit. You can see that some of the clear resin did kind of go over the edge. That's okay, as long as I covered all of my stones, and I just wanted to protect that top layer. That was the important part. Oh, this is not gonna work with this. No, I'm gonna have to get the Dremel out, but that's okay. That just means it cured solid, which is good. That's what you want. Oh, I'm so happy this finally came out. Several attempts, feeling like I was trying to create the wheel, and I finally got this to work. I love it. Love the way the stones look. I love the way the little gold pieces of glitter came out with the red. Just everything about it looks festive and pretty. I'm very excited. And because it kind of also looks like a tomato, this mold, if you look at it a different way, I might have to do some of those too in the future, but look at them sanded. They came out amazing. I'm so proud of them. This is exciting. I'm definitely going to have to do more projects where I mix things up a little bit. And speaking of mixing things up a little bit, if you've stayed with me this whole video, go ahead and click that like button. I know that it's easy to forget to do, and I know that it seems kind of repetitive. Every YouTuber in the world I know, like and subscribe, yada yada yada. But that's because it is the one thing that can give my small channel, any channel really, small or big, is what gives you a fighting chance against the algorithm. So yes, if you've been watching a lot of my videos but you've forgotten to like, please start liking them. Smash the up button. It's totally free. It costs nothing. And if you enjoyed this video and seeing me mix medias a little bit, I have a couple of more like this. Maybe resin, maybe not. I'm branching out to different things. And some of those things might be digital illustration. Some of those things might be mixed media collage. So yeah, we'll see what comes out first. It's hard to tell sometimes. Sometimes it takes 5 attempts, sometimes it takes 1. But anyway, again, thank you for watching my video, and I will see you in the next art story. Bye for now.